Congratulations first on the adjusted contract. I want to get your reaction to that and how that all came about.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I had a stellar year last year, and in this upcoming year wasn't necessarily guaranteed. And so me and my agent, we sat down and decided to, try to work something out, and thankfully we did, and we were able to get it done fairly early, and now we're here. So added an extra year on the contract, and it's gonna be a good one.
Quick follow, if I could. 32 years old now. How much, when you envision your career, do you expect to play? I mean, running backs at 32 don't have the success that you've had.
Yeah, I always look at like everything that I do, just try to beat the standard. And obviously the standards, running backs at, age 30 and above, typically start to have that decline. Well, I didn't have any wear and tear early on in my career, so it's a little bit easier for me to just go ahead and discredit that narrative altogether and just continue to just do what I do at the highest level and help this team out and trying to bring home a championship. That's the most important thing, especially for a guy who's myself. I've been through all the ups and downs, highs and lows within my career, but one thing that I do want to get done is hold that trophy at the end of the year. I think that's is going to definitely solidify not only myself in the position that I'm in, but a lot of different guys on the team in their position that they're in.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Al.
Hal?
Al,
Hey, Raheem, good to see you.
you too, brother.
I'm sure everybody on the call wants to know your reaction. The Dolphins not only matched what they did last year in drafting a running back, but they made some moves to get in position to draft him, and he's another fast guy. So overall, what's your reaction?
Yeah, my reaction at the time, I was just like, yeah, whatever, it is what it is. It's the same typical thing, draft drama, pretty much all the time, no, regardless of the position. But no, I'm honestly excited, to have Jalen come in, just another Jalen coming in on the mix on the team. So just excited to have him here, and try to coach him up, try to help him out within this offense and let's see what he can do. I'm all about in-person experiences and thus far, regardless of who any team that I've been a part of, who they drafted, I've always embraced the opportunity, not only for myself, but the people around me and in the room too. So just super excited to have everybody here and he's gonna be here sometime this weekend, I believe, with rookie minicamp. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be exciting, and like I said, I just can't wait to work with him.
We've always been talking to you guys about speed,
Mhm.
not only with the running backs, but obviously the wide receivers. But now you added another fast guy. How much more of a headache does that create for defenses, do you think?
I mean, the more the merrier. That's what I would say. Especially in this offense, we could utilize a lot of different attributes, and speed is definitely an attribute that we like to maximize to most of our abilities. So, be able to have another guy coming in the mix and doing, bring his attributes and his contributions into the offense and his speed is definitely going to be very beneficial on our part because, we can now line up and we could use three backs, out there at one point with a receiver and maybe a tight end as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can do in the offense, especially with guys that have a lot of different speeds.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was wondering how Mike was going to be in his laboratory trying to
Yeah.
concoct something there. Thank you.
Yep, no problem, Al.
Omar?
Omar.
I was wondering if I was going to get the loving reception everybody else got. Hey, Raheem.
You all good, brother.
Um, wanted to ask you about Mike and just how the season ended was painful for everybody, but Mike probably the most. Some people don't factor in that mostly you guys were on one leg, the top players, in terms of how the season ended. How do you think the season's conclusion impacted Mike in terms of his thought process, his goals, his planning?
Yeah, when I had the exit interview with him, and this is a great question, Omar. Not too many people realize the magnitude of what we went through last year, especially towards the end in that playoff game. You know, after talking with Mike and sitting down and having my exit interview, you know, we try to formulate a plan and you know what's going on at the moment for us. And you know, I asked him, I said, how do you feel about, you know, the season the way it did? He was like, man, he couldn't be any happier, you know, just because there's a lot of different guys that, you know, stepped up to the plate, that made huge contributions, you know, especially like a guy like Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, right? You know, those guys alone were key ingredients in the offense or in the defense. So you know, just talking with him about that whole experience, you know, he was happy, but he also knows that there's always more out there, and that's the attitude that you kind of have as a head coach and even as a player. I mean, anybody really, you know, being a journalist and everything like that, you always have to have more. You always have to find a way to get better and critique yourself. And he's been able to do that, you know, this offseason. He's understanding his problems that, you know, we had last year, whether it be health or, you know, just not doing the correct things that we needed to do as an offense. So we just we're just gonna go out here and just try to figure it out. And he's on the up and up. He's in good spirits about everything. So
Yeah, now you were one of the guys who had that Wednesday program, which you weren't a fan of. Um, but obviously, as a 30-year-old player, even though Mike came into the season and said this is what it's going to be,
yeah.
now do you buy into it, or how do you have to receive it as a 30-year-old player?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of my age, I've always been bought into, you know, taking care of players first and foremost. I think that that's the most important thing, especially throughout the season, because it's a long 17 games, you know, and you got to factor in playoffs if you make it, and then factor in the fact that you're going into the Super Bowl. You know, I witnessed that back in 2019 when I was in San Fran, and you know, we had guys that stayed healthy. We had guys that were, you know, we didn't lose pretty much anybody that year. So for these Super Bowl teams that come in, you know, you look at the Chiefs, they had nicks and bruises, but they were still able to go at a high pace, high speed, and get the job done. And ultimately, they're considered champs. So, you know, regardless of any type of program, whether it be Wednesday, if I like it or not, you know, I just got to do what's best for the team, and that means preserving myself, which I know, especially, you know, given my age. But I'm still, like I said, I'm still young at heart. I'm still young, and I'm still a young back. So I'm out here just trying to prove that.
Thank you. Thanks, Raheem.
Yeah, man.
We'll close it out with Alan.
Hey, Raheem, how you doing?
What's up, Alan? How you doing, man?
Doing pretty well, thank you.
Good.
So the NFL schedule, you already know who you're going to play and where, but when that's left to be determined is their when and primetime games and all that. So I'm curious as to your level of interest in the actual schedule release itself to find out, the particulars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I like looking at the, you know, the schedule release and you know, all the creatives behind it and stuff like that, and how different teams go about, you know, releasing the schedule. But I'm just ready to play football at the end of the day, man. I'm ready to go out here and do some historic stuff and try to bring home a title, man. You know, that's all I can do. So I don't know. I look at the schedule, and if we're facing Seattle here, Seattle got to get whooped. You know, it's like it really doesn't matter at the end of the day, in regards to schedule release. But I do like the creatives behind it.
And a quick other one from me is, have you noticed any sort of difference in the mood of the players reporting to the offseason program this year compared to last year, maybe?
Not so much. Although we got like it seems like a never ending cycle with the defense. You know, we're always shuffling defensive coordinators and mixing the change up in that aspect, and bringing in guys, you know, newer guys. So it's a little bit of a change, but honestly, everybody has a great spirit. Everybody's doing everything they possibly can to get better. I see the guys on the defensive side of the ball. They're honing in on the craft. They're working their craft, and they're doing their best to, you know, try to be great. So